Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to Senior Immigrant Safety Expo hosted by A&O Support Services for Older Adults with funding from New Horizons for Senior program. I just want to begin by acknowledging the land where we are hosting this event. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that Manitoba is a traditional land of the Cree, Ojibwe, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene people, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And we are on Treaty 1 territory. So today is the second day of this expo, and this is the fifth presentation, which is about elder abuse awareness. I would like to introduce to you all our presenter, Lori Pickerl, who is a registered social worker with the Manitoba College of Social Workers. Lori is also a volunteer with A&O since 2019 and currently works in a number of A&O programs. I also would like to remind everyone that we can't see you or hear you, but if you have any questions, you can use the chat or the question and answer room here. We'll read your questions at the end of the presentation and answer every question. And also at the end of the presentation, we'll be giving away 3 gift cards for prizes. And we will select 3 random people or random participants as winners. So now I will let Lori take it from me. So Lori, it's up to you now.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm a registered social worker on the team of social workers with A&O. So I'll be presenting on elder abuse. I'm just going to share my screen now. So we will go over, who A&O is, which my understanding is you know who that is, but we'll just go over it and different definitions and forms of elder abuse, the statistics, reporting of elder abuse, and just recognizing elder abuse and what it is, how to help either yourself or your family or friend, and A&O's community services. So A&O's mission, A&O supports services for older adults. It's a not-for-profit social service agency that offers life-enhancing programs and services to older adults, 55 plus, living in the province of Manitoba. And their vision is to support older adults, for older adults to strive to be a recognized community partner in the development and delivery of innovative services that empower older adults to lead healthy and vibrant lives. So it's a not-for-profit organization that provides programs and services to older adults 55 plus. It was established in 1957 in response to the need from older adults and their caregivers. And it's governed by a board of directors. So there's 3 pillars of innovative programs and services, which you can also find on the website. So there's safety and security, social engagement, and counseling. Under safety and security is where elder abuse prevention services fall, the Safe Suite program, which I will review, older victim services, safety aid, fall prevention program, and this full house working with people who hoard. So for social engagement, there's Senior Center Without Walls, Connect program, and Senior Immigrant Settlement Services. Under counseling, information and referral, intake, counseling, housing, and legal services. So that's just a brief overview, but today's presentation is on elder abuse. It is any action or inaction by a person in a relationship of trust, which jeopardizes the health or well-being of an older person. This is how A&O's definition. There are different definitions out there. Different agencies maybe use a different one. A relationship of trust. So it might be someone, that you trust. If you just met someone who came to your door for the first time, you wouldn't trust them, right? So, but somebody who's been helping you for a while, a professional, say a financial advisor, they're in a relationship of trust. Your doctor, your friend or family member. You can go to this website to find a bit more information about the definition. So when is it mandatory to report elder abuse? Meaning that someone like a professional, such as myself, has to call the police or different authority. So reporting elder abuse is mandatory when an older adult is receiving care in a personal care home, a hospital, or any other designated health facility. So this is the Protection for Persons in Care Act. Also, for an older adult with significantly impaired intellectual functioning manifested prior to the age of 18 years. So this is the Vulnerable Persons Act. So someone before they were 18 would have been diagnosed, say, with an intellectual disability, and then they would fall under this. And then I would have to, or a person would have to call the police if someone in these situations was being abused. But in Manitoba, with the exception of older adults covered within the perimeters of the Protection for Persons in Care Act or the Vulnerable Persons Act, there is no current mandatory reporting of elder abuse for those residing in the community. So for someone living independently in the community, there's nothing saying you have to call the police if there's elder abuse involved. So the different forms of elder abuse can include physical abuse, hitting, slapping, things that maybe leave a bruise or signs, and things that don't, such as hair pulling, maybe just pinching tight enough to not leave a bruise, throwing hot water on a person, sexual abuse, whether unwanted comments, touching, rape, emotional abuse, name calling, not respecting someone's boundaries if they tell them to leave and they don't leave, putting someone down, financial abuse. Financial abuse, often we have somebody who's able to make their own decisions, and maybe family members call and say they're giving this person money, but they're able to make that decision. So if it's the unwanted use of their bank cards, taking their bank cards without their permission, there have been cases, there was one of a financial advisor taking advantage and financially abusing their client. Neglect. So this is often, whether it's intentional or not taking care of someone's needs if they need physical help and they're in charge of making sure they get their baths and they haven't been. Whether or not that own person maybe has dementia and can't take care of them. So there's that lack of ability to take care of someone, but it still falls into neglect. So again, physical abuse is acts that include violence or rough treatment or the threat of violence. Again, it can include throwing items. Even if the item doesn't hit the person, that's still physical abuse. Inappropriate use of medications or restraints. Threat of physical force, so saying, I am going to hit you. And as again, it doesn't always leave a mark. And emotional abuse, it's any act that causes pain or distress through verbal or non-verbal acts. So yeah, it can include threats, insults, humiliation, telling someone they're going to, for example, put them in a care home, that no one else will care for you, treating the person like a child. isolating the person from family. Often abusers make it hard for professionals to talk to that person. They might say they're not there, that they don't want to talk. They'll undermine their self-worth of the person. And financial abuse is the illegal or inappropriate use of another person's money or property. So it can include persuading, tricking, or threatening the older adult out of money, property, or possessions, maybe coercing them to change their will or their power of attorney. And sexual abuse, sexual contact with an older adult without that person's consent. Again, it can include inappropriate comments, suggestive behavior, not respecting a personal privacy. So maybe that makes the person feel like no one will believe them, or that it's not serious enough to actually make a complaint. Say if it's a person rubbing up against them, and then they just say, oops, that was an accident. So of course, sexual intercourse or any unwanted sexual contact. And neglect, the failure to meet the needs of an older adult who cannot meet their needs on their own. Again, this can be physical, emotional, or financial. Ignoring their medical or physical care needs. Maybe they have home care set up and then home care comes and they say, no, go away, or they block access to those needed services. So failing to provide access to services and withholding the necessities of life. So, water, food, warmth. Types of abuse. This is to A&O statistics, 2020 to 2021. The most common is emotional. And then second is financial. And then verbal, physical, neglect, fraud, sexual, and other. And the most common abuser is children. Son, daughters. And then there's unknown. So these are who have made reports to A&O. Partner, other who aren't children. So maybe grandchildren, brother, sister, friends, tenants, neighbors, power of attorneys. Professionals. So again, the financial advisor. Sorry, I'm just having trouble pulling something up here. Okay. So statistics. 4 to 10% of older adults, 50 plus, will experience one or more forms of abuse at some point in their lifetime. So the statistics are 8,750 to 21,877 older Manitobans are affected by elder abuse. And only 1 in 5 cases come to the attention of those who can help. So social workers, doctors, and these stats are from www.peam.ca, which you can check out. It's a great website. So why does elder abuse go so unreported? So those who experience abuse have a fear of retaliation. So the person will take away their things or their connections, the abuse might get worse. Fear of being placed in an institution, again, that threat of you'll be put in a care home. Shame, so they feel it's their fault, even if it's not. So there's a lot of shame and guilt. Belief that police and social service agencies cannot help, or not a trust in police or social service agencies. The fear that no one will believe them. So if you think about it, what would it take you if a family member was being abusive to report them? If you could think about that, it's not black and white or easy. Again, and those who suspect abuse, so they think something might be going on. They think they cannot help the person. They don't know who to speak to, the resources. They don't know what can be done. They think that no one will believe them, or they don't want to get involved. Or sometimes the victim, the abused, doesn't want them to report it, so they have that. So another reason it goes unreported is signs of abuse may be perceived as normal aging, bruising, depression, isolation. So older adults, again, the ageism, sometimes viewed as frail or forgetful. Confusion may appear to be attributed to dementia, where in fact it might be to mismanagement of medication. Their care needs aren't being met. Ageism and society's attitudes towards getting older. So signs and symptoms of elder abuse are a withdrawal. Maybe one friend you used to talk to, all of a sudden they're talking about their son being rude to them, and then they stop talking to you and they don't want to talk to you anymore, or you call and the son says she's not here. They're not here. Lethargy, so being tired. They show a general fear or anxiety. You notice just, they don't seem as carefree if they were. A depression, reluctance to speak openly. So they might say, oh, my son's here, I can't speak to you right now. Refusal of visitors. Doctor shopping or pharmacist shopping. Sudden unexplained changes in the victim's living arrangements. So whereas maybe they used to be really neat, clean, and now they have their son living with them or their daughter, and it's not, it's gone really messy, or they're not taking care of their hygiene. They're talking maybe that their rent, they can't pay their rent now, as they're not sure where their money went, or they don't want to openly discuss it. Physical, of course, there's bruises, burn marks, welts, rope burns, hair missing or broken bones. Injuries where explanation does not fit the evidence. So they have a black eye and they say they just fell down a couple steps. Maybe it just doesn't add up, or they've changed the story a couple times. So they're refusing medical treatment. And financial. They don't know where their money's going. There's no adequate explanation. Maybe their rent is always paid on time, and now the landlord is saying, okay, they're not paying it. Why? Changes to the will and or power of attorney, inability to pay bills, personal items such as eyeglasses, jewelry, hearing aids, or dentures are missing without explanation, or they're not being replaced. So people who might notice this could be home care staff, other family members, friends. and emotional. So maybe you say, hey, you haven't been coming out with us lately. Maybe they give excuses for their not doing so. So excuses for social isolation, colluding with individual who is abusing them, exclusion from discussions and important decisions, difficulty contacting or visiting the older adult. So you say, you call and you always reach the son and you say, I'd like to arrange a visit. And he's always saying, no, she always has something. Neglect, malnourished, so they look skinnier than normal. Maybe they've lost weight, missing medical equipment such as glasses and dentures, poor hygiene, left unattended for long periods of time. They might be over medicated. So again, that confusion comes in, or untreated medical problems. So warning signs, individuals who act abusively, some common characteristics, stress in other areas of life, whether that's financial, family problems in their life, addictions fall into that. That's very common. A need for control, lack of knowledge or resources about caregiving. If they're the caregiver and say it's the partner of an older adult and they're having to take care of themselves and their partner as well. Confusion or dementia on the caregiver's part. So some common behaviors of the abuser are verbal aggression, so insults or threats, unusual amount of concern over older adults. They speak for the older adult or reluctance to leave the older adult alone with a professional. So it might be a red flag if I were to call someone, the client, and always the abuser or the son or the one person wants to be there. So for yourselves, responding to elder abuse, if you see elder abuse or someone discloses it to you, make yourself available to them, that you want to listen to their story and support them and listen carefully, develop the trust and respect their privacy. So if they don't want you to go to the police or you don't really have, as I said, it's not mandated, you know, it's important just to gain their privacy, their trust, so that if it does escalate, they will feel comfortable going to you. Let them know it's not their fault, that they are not alone, and that there is help available. So as a social worker, this is how we respond to elder abuse. And this is how you can help as well. You know, you can do a risk assessment or harm reduction with them. You know, how likely are they in the moment? Are they safe today? Or do they know how to call the police? This is part of safety planning. Do they have a phone available? A trusted neighbor they can go to? Recognize and respect the rights of the older adult. And be aware of community resources. So one of those is A&O's elder abuse services. So things to avoid: minimizing the situation. So saying it's not that big of a deal. He only spent 200 of your money, of your money. So without you wanting him to, or it's just he's grabbed your arm just a little bit. Don't try to fix the problem. You know, don't try to go talk to the abuser. That can often make it worse. Don't make judgments, you know, oh, if you hadn't done this, you wouldn't be in this situation, or it's easy, you should just leave. Don't share their disclosure to others. And again, don't confront the individual who is the abuser. When help is not wanted, You can help make sure the person is aware of the existing resources and supports and understand yourself, the resources and supports. You can do, again, the harm reduction. So if someone's living with an abuser and they don't want to leave, we go over, who can you call? Can you have a to-go bag packed? You know who to call for help. You can provide contact information. So often I make sure they know my direct line. Be available to talk and be patient. So elder abuse prevention services through A&O are available for older adults 55 plus. Services are provided free of charge. Confidential intake line for information and referral. And you can find out more resources through the intake line. Anyone can call to refer with the client's consent, and the client has to be agreeable and know about the referral. As it is, our services are volunteer-based. We can do visits in the community because of COVID. It's on an emergency basis. So right now it's mostly Zoom or phone calls. Individual counseling by social workers. So often they just want to hear it's not your fault, and they sometimes the education piece of what is elder abuse. Information on applicable legislation, legal information, and court assistance. So it's important. Sometimes an abused person relies on the abuser for resources. So social workers can help set them up with different resources, such as financial, housing, meals, transportation, and there's that social piece too. There's protection order designates. Protection orders are court orders that contain conditions intended to protect one person from another. So A&O has pods who are specially trained to assist individuals applying for protection orders. So just to help them understand the application, if they can't write themselves, they could type it out for them or write it for them. So they provide information, they can attend to the law courts with the client, and safety planning again. So the Safe Suite program, between 2003 and 2021, A&O assisted 87 clients in the Safe Suite program. So this is developed for people leaving abusive situations. There's 3 suites that have been open since 2006. It's available to men, women, and couples over the age of 55. So there's 3 secure and confidential locations throughout the city. A person is put there for short term, and social workers provide intense counseling, safety planning, and access to services. So that's really helping them get set up with housing, finances, legal, or other support services. And it is furnished accommodations for up to 60 days at no cost to the client. Now, older victim services. It is referrals from the Winnipeg Police Service for victims of crime 60 plus. And we receive those referrals directly from the Winnipeg Police. We provide assistance with victim impact statements. So how that crime affected the person. Compensation applications. So if their glasses were damaged during an assault, they can be compensated for that, and other items. Court tours, translation services, transportation to the court, and accompany the individual to the court if there's a trial date set, just for an emotional support. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day was developed and launched on June 15, 2006 by the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse. So there's different activities on this day, and you can visit this website to find out more information every June 15th. There's the Seniors Abuse Support Line. It's available 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you can call this toll-free phone number. If you're being abused, you have concerns about somebody else who is being abused. Hey, I think I just finished on time, so thank you. Okay. So if someone is experiencing elder abuse and their English language is low, is the question, then, well, A&O social workers, we do have access to translation services. So we would be able to get an interpreter, as well as sometimes we work with the Winnipeg Police Service Vulnerable Persons Unit if we get permission. So as well, I believe, I can't speak for sure, they probably have translation services, or we could do the translation services and arrange a meeting. But I guess the first step would be to call our intake line. And just when you first call, you could say, this is my main language. And then usually we have access to on-demand interpreter services. Does that answer your question?
There is a question in the question answers session also. So it's a question by Nazar Hussain. So the first question is, how to become a registered social worker?
Well, you have to get a degree, usually, and then you register through Manitoba College as social workers.
Okay, the second question
and we're,
is, no, go on. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, so then we have a code of ethics and standards of practice, and it's, yeah, I think that became in 2010, and before that we weren't registered.
Okay, so second question by Nazar is, what is the name of agency to which elderly abuse is reported?
Well, there is no, you could call the police if you're thinking a crime was committed. They would make a charge if there's a crime, like if there's assault, or usually they want the client to be agreeable to pressing charges. So if it is in a care home, they have their own reporting number. So are you referring to, like, if they're in a care home or hospital? Excuse me. So it just depends, like, because there's a protection for persons in care, which is for people in the hospital, care homes. They do have a phone number. I could look it up right away and post it in the chat.
So another question is, what is penalty or punishment to anyone involved in elderly abuse?
Well, that's on a case-by-case basis, right? Based on if they get charged by the police, because there's no mandatory reporting of elder abuse, meaning I don't have to. If someone tells me their son has pushed them, I don't have to. And they tell me they don't want me to go to police, I don't have to. In Manitoba, reporting of child abuse is mandatory. Protection for persons in care makes that a law. Vulnerable Persons Act, if someone was under the age of 18 and then they were diagnosed with a mental health intellectual disability, then yes, you have to call the police. You could call the police then if you suspect someone's being abused in a care home, or if they're you're concerned about the competency. You can call the police for a wellness check on someone, and they would go to their door and say, are you okay? Are you safe? This person hasn't had contact with you.
Okay, so another question is, what are PODs? Can you explain? This is also by Nazar.
Sorry?
PODs.
Is there a question there?
Yes, it's in the question answer.
Question answer. Oh yeah, I see it. Okay. Oh, PODs, protection order designates. Okay. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so there's a few social work staff who are registered, or they took a class on being protection order designate. So a protection order, you go before a judge basically, and you say why you think you need protection from this person. If it's granted, it's for 3 years that they cannot have contact with you. They can't visit you, or that would be a breach. So you really have to be agreeable to not wanting to see them for 3 years, talk to them, really have a concern for your safety, that they would hurt you or seek you out. So yeah, that's a protection order designate. So they would help you with the application. They wouldn't tell you what to put, but they help you understand the questions, and then they maybe could help you record your answers.
So Bridget, if you can hear me, can you please type your question? You had your hand raised. You can either type your question in the question answer room or in the chat room. I don't know whether she had her hand raised, but she has not typed the question. So anyone else, any questions, please type them either in the chat room or in the question answer room.
So I'm going to post in the chat, or can I? Chat. Oh. I'm not sure if I can post in the chat. Maybe I can post in Q&A. I will post it under Nazar's. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
post it in.
Okay, so I'm posting it there. It's the website to the Protection for Persons in Care, and there's a section on reporting. So this was if you ever want to report, if you think someone's being abused in a hospital, care home. Yeah, so then on that website, there's a couple phone numbers. That's how you report in that area.
Okay, so there's another question by Glorelli. Some seniors are not sure if what they experienced was an abuse or not. Would it be okay for seniors to call and verify with A&O of their case?
Yeah, they can call definitely A&O's intake line, and we help explore what happened and whether it is abuse or not, their experience, what resources there are, if they can make a police report, for example. So definitely. You're welcome.
Any
Thank
more
you for having
questions,
me.
please? I don't think there are any more questions here. So thanks, Lori, for this wonderful and informative session. And now I will announce the 3 winners for today's gift cards. So we have Abibe, Maria, and Z-Gang. So congratulations to the winners. And Lorena will email you about the details on how you'll be receiving your prizes. So thank you everyone for attending this session. And we do have another session coming up at 3 p.m. and that is about healthy aging. That's also another interesting topic. And for that session, we have a registered social worker as well as a registered nurse will be joining us for that session. So thank you everyone for now and have a great rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.